Welcome to Critical Health News' weekly video Bright Bite with pharmacist Ben Fuchs.
Okay, so we're going to talk about cancer today. And we'll talk about some of the strategies for dealing with cancer. Cancer is obviously one of the most horrific diagnoses that anyone could have. It's a leading cause of death. It's the second leading cause of death in this country. Every year, around 1.6 million people get diagnosed with cancer. 600,000 people or so die of cancer. Really, in the last 50 or 60 years, cancer rates haven't changed all that much. Deaths have gone down. Deaths from cancer have gone down slightly. Diagnoses have gone up slightly. But basically, cancer rates have stayed the same. Cancer is the most important thing to understand about cancer is it's not so much an organ issue and a tissue issue and a structural issue as much as it is a cell issue. Cancer is about a deformed cell or a cell that's not doing its business correctly. It takes a lot for this to occur. By the time somebody gets a diagnosis of cancer, typically the cancer has been progressing for a long time under the radar. It's been stealth for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden you get a diagnosis of cancer. That's when it can be detected, but the cancer has been percolating underneath, behind the scenes, typically for years or even decades. A couple things I want to talk about, a couple points I want to make before we talk about some of the specifics about how you could deal with cancer. Most importantly, cancer remits. The spontaneous regression of cancer is something we've known about for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And if cancer can remit in one person, it can remit in anybody. In other words, the human body is capable of destroying cancer. In many ways, cancer is really an issue of a dysfunctional or somehow broken down immune system, a defensive system that is not doing its work of killing the cancer. So number one, the most important point to recognize, especially if you have this diagnosis, is that cancer remits. If it can remit in one person, it can remit in anyone. Spontaneous regressions occur. The second point is that while chemotherapy is a miserable experience and there's no guaranteed results, and the statistics around the effectiveness of chemotherapy are not very good, sometimes you need it. And I don't want to be in a position of telling anybody not to use chemotherapy. It depends on your individual prognosis. It depends on how far along you are in your cancer. If you're at the earlier stages of cancer, then the likelihood of chemotherapy working are greater. If you're in later stages, it's much less likely that your chemotherapy will work. There are times you need chemotherapy. There may be times you need surgery, and there may be times you need radiation. However, please understand there's no guarantees with chemotherapy. We have this notion that chemotherapy is some kind of guaranteed cure for cancer. It's not. Third of all, killing cancer is not a good strategy. Killing cancer is a strategy because as long as cells don't have what they need to do their business, as long as the toxicity, the cellular burden is going on inside the body, the likelihood is the cancer is going to come back. So simply killing cancer is not an effective strategy. Fourthly, cancer is a disease of overwhelm. It's a disease of burden, specifically cell burden. And the cellular burdens that cause cancer are the same as the cellular burdens that cause any disease. In other words, cells are starved, cells are suffocated, and cells are toxic. Starvation, suffocation, and toxification. And as we've said before, this triad of cellular dysfunction leads to an inflammatory process, which leads to more cellular starvation, suffocation, and toxification, leading to more inflammation. And this is where the downward spiral of all chronic degenerative diseases kicks in. Ultimately, this is where cancer starts as well. Cellular burden caused by cell starvation, caused by cell suffocation, and caused by cell toxification. And the last point I want to make is that although we're swamped with this idea that cancer is a genetic condition and there's all this heredity that's involved and you got to have gene therapy, and if you have a gene for cancer, you got to have parts of your body taken out. The fact of the matter is 90 to 95% of cancers, the vast, vast majority of cancers, involve environment and they involve lifestyle. And that means, once again, nutrition, toxification, and lack of respiration, hypoxia, problems with oxygenation. Those are basically the three elements of all disease, and when it comes to cancer, likewise, starvation, suffocation, and toxification, which all involves the environment. Now, certainly there's mental and emotional issues that sometimes that play a role in the environment of the body via stress, hormone, other hormones. So those areas can't be marginalized. But from a physical perspective, what you're looking at is cellular burden that is secondary to starvation, that is a lack of nutrients, suffocation, a lack of oxygen, and toxicity, accumulation of toxicity. By the way, sugar counts as a toxin. After you have a small amount of sugar, after the body certainly needs a small amount of sugar for energy, after that small amount of sugar, the rest of the sugar in the body needs to be either processed or it acts as a toxin. So when we talk about toxicity, sugar is included. So what do you do if you got a diagnosis of cancer? Well, your most important strategy is to make the body stronger. As I say, killing cancer is a failed strategy because if the body is weakened, if the body is suffering from a lack of nutrition, a lack of oxygen, or toxicity, cancer is going to come back. So the main strategy for dealing with cancer is to make the body stronger. The first thing you want to do is you want to activate the relaxation nervous system. As we've talked about in the past, you've got two nervous systems. You've got a stress nervous system, an emergency nervous system that kicks in when we're under duress. This is called the sympathetic nervous system. And under the control of the sympathetic nervous system, the immune system becomes suppressed. The second nervous system is your rest and digest nervous system. It's parasympathetic nervous system. And this is where we fight diseases. This is where we fight cancer. This is where we prevent the formation of cancer in the first place. So learning how to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is incredibly important, the rest and digest nervous system. There's lots of ways to do that, but primarily it involves relaxation. So relaxing is medicine. Relaxation is a way that you can treat the body, you can help the body deal with all diseases, including cancer. There's a major relationship between oxygenation and the parasympathetic nervous system. So making sure you're breathing correctly. Deep breathing activates the vagus nerve, which is one of the major nerves that controls the parasympathetic nervous system. So practicing deep breathing techniques is a great way to activate the so-called rest and digest nervous system. Immersion in hot water, hot tubs or hot showers, or even just a hot washcloth on the face can activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Massage, Reiki, yoga, meditation. These are all wonderful ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Secondly, avoid sugar for a lot of reasons. Number one, sugar, as I said, it represents a toxin after a small amount, which is necessary. Secondly, sugar amps up the body, makes the body more sympathetically driven. And also, sugar is a cancer feeder. Cancer cells love sugar. In fact, a cancer cell, by definition, is a cell that utilizes sugar for energy preferentially. So keeping your sugar down is very important. This is where something called the ketogenic diet can come in very handy. The ketogenic diet is a low carbohydrate diet, and there's a lot of literature that suggests that the ketogenic diet is a powerful anti-cancer diet. The ketogenic diet is not just a low sugar or low carb diet, it's a high fat, moderate protein, low carb diet. Many people have heard of the ketogenic diet because it's in the news now for weight loss, but the ketogenic diet can be effective for Alzheimer's disease, athletic performance. It can also be effective for folks who are dealing with schizophrenia or autism or psychopathies, psychotic disorders, and it also has anti-cancer effects. It's also a high performance diet for athletes. Pay attention to digestive health for a couple of reasons. For one thing, nutrition is extremely important for anybody dealing with a chronic health challenge, particularly cancer. And if you have a digestive issue, you're not going to be absorbing your nutrients effectively. And secondly, once the digestive system breaks down, it becomes more likely that toxicity will enter into the blood through the intestines, so-called leaky gut syndrome. So paying attention to digestive health is very important. Eliminating problem foods, number one. Using nutritional supplements that can help support digestive health. Number two, probiotics, fermented food, using liquid nutrients, particularly liquid soup. Paying attention to digestive health is always important, but it's especially important when you're dealing with cancer. Focus on the circulatory system, both the blood and the lymph. Dirty blood precedes all disease, including cancer, and the blood becomes dirty through the digestive system. So making sure that you're keeping the blood clean by working with digestive health, also improving the circulation of blood through movement and deep breathing, improving the circulation of the lymphatic system as well. Exercise, getting on a rebounder, deep breathing. These are all ways to improve the circulation. Even just drinking water can improve circulation. Oxygenation of the blood can improve circulation. Keeping the blood moving effectively not only is important for delivering nutrients and removing toxins, but as the blood moves through the body, as it circulates through the body, it generates an electrical charge. This electrical charge is referred to as a zeta potential. And at the end of the day, the body is not chemically driven, it's electrically driven. Even the chemistry of nutrition is really important because it acts fundamentally as a way of helping support the electrical energy of the body. Well, moving the blood, or the movement of the blood, is one of the primary ways that the electrical energy of the body is generated. So getting on a rebounder and doing things to improve circulation is very important. You make sure you're utilizing oxygen correctly, not only for circulating the blood, but also for cancer. Cancer, it's said, is caused by all kinds of things like tobacco smoke and environmental toxins and asbestos. There's all kinds of things that are supposedly responsible for causing cancer, but at the end of the day, a cancer cell is a cell that is not utilizing oxygen correctly. A cell will turn cancerous when it's been robbed of oxygen for a long enough period of time. So making sure cells are oxygenated, the body is oxygenated, is a very important strategy for dealing with all health challenges, including cancer. Aside from deep breathing, which is always going to be important, not just for oxygenation, but also for helping improve circulation and activating the rest and digest nervous system, using things like a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, driving oxygen, forcing oxygen into the blood can have anti-cancer properties. So oxygen can actually act to kill cancer cells, and oxygen can actually act to support healthy cells. So oxygenation is very important, whether you're using deep breathing techniques or whether you're using a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. Apply food strategies. Use correct eating behaviors. Caloric restriction is very important. Calories represent heat. Heat represents high energy, and cancer is already high state. So by practicing caloric restriction, you can actually calm the body down. Even intermittent fasting can help. Fasting has also been shown to improve chemotherapy. So if you decide to go the chemotherapeutic route, fasting can actually help support the activity of chemotherapy. Choose foods that are nutrient dense. That way you don't have to have a lot of calories, but you get nutrition. Things like seaweed, vegetables, oysters, organ meats, eggs. These are all foods that allow you to get lots of nutrition without having a lot of calories. And along the same lines, utilize liquid nutrition. Soups, vegetable juices, smoothies, nutritional drinks like the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Things that allow you to get lots of nutrition without having to expose yourself to a lot of calories or a lot of work. Reducing the load on the digestive system while you still maintain nutrition. That's actually technically called the CRON diet, or the CRAN diet, C-R-O-N or C-R-A-N, which stands for calorie restriction with adequate nutrition, or calorie restriction with optimum nutrition. And this type of diet has been shown repeatedly to have wonderful anti-aging effects, in addition to being helpful for calming the body down if you're dealing with some kind of disease state, including cancer. Don't forget the basics. 90 essential nutrients, enough protein, enough essential fatty acids, just the basic nutrition that we need. Exercise, moving the body around, we talked about that as helping improve the electrical charge in the body, the electrical charge in the circulation system. But you also produce healing hormones, growth hormones. You produce something called irisin, I-R-I-S-I-N, which is a hormone associated with exercise. All of these have anti-cancer and bodybuilding and health-promoting effects. So doing some kind of exercise, and it doesn't have to be anything intense. It could be something like walking up and down the stairs a couple of times a day, or walking up and down the stairs wearing a backpack with a couple books in it, or walking up the stairs 2 steps at a time, or parking your car farther away from the store, so you got to walk across the parking lot, or even just taking a walk a couple of times a day. So doing something to exercise will improve the body's growth chemistry, will improve the body's healing chemistry, and if you're dealing with cancer, it can be a great way to not only mitigate some of the effects of some of the problems associated with cancer, but it could be a way just to improve your sense of well-being, to make you feel better. Don't forget about the intangibles. Don't forget about things like visualization and attitude and spirituality. All of these play a role in keeping the body healthy, not just if you're dealing with cancer, but with all disease states. Closing your eyes and visualizing that you're healed, connecting with God, meditation, using affirmations or positive belief, positive thinking. All of these can have a beneficial effect on associated with healing, and if you're dealing with any degenerative disease, including cancer, they can be beneficial. Some people get benefits or have gotten benefits from pancreatic enzymes. Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez talked a lot about using pancreatic enzymes for cancer. There's some controversy around it, but it might be something that you want to think about. And then last but not least, there's something called chelation therapy, which has wonderful anti-aging and health-promoting benefits, but it also may be helpful for dealing with cancer. Chelation therapy is when they inject little tiny chemicals into your blood that have a magnetic property that actually magnetically attract out of the blood, and that can have a beneficial effect if you're dealing with cancer. You can also do oral chelation, that is, you can do supplements that have that same magnetic toxin attracting property that you get from stuff that's injected into the blood. You actually use things like N-acetylcysteine or selenium or sulfur or vitamin C. All of these have wonderful anti-cancer properties. And then also, now that I think about it, another thing that you can think about if you're dealing with cancer is intravenous nutrition, particularly intravenous vitamin C. There's a lot of wonderful literature that talks about intravenous vitamin C as having anti-cancer properties. Intravenous glutathione. Glutathione is the body's main cancer fighter. The more prescription drugs we take, the more stress we're under, toxicity we're subjecting our body to, the lower our glutathione levels will be. So by putting glutathione directly into the blood, you can support your natural glutathione and your natural ability to detoxify and protect yourself from cancer. Glutathione is made up of a protein called glutamine, and glutamine supplementation may be helpful. Cancer cells actually burn through a lot of glutamine, so many people are deficient in glutamine. Many cancer patients are deficient in glutamine, so supporting making sure that you get enough glutamine to support glutathione production can be helpful. Selenium, the mineral selenium, helps activate glutathione, so you might want to take selenium supplements. Selenium also has its own chelation effect. Selenium on its own can help with cancer. Selenium also has antiviral and immune boosting properties in addition to activating glutathione. The B complex in general, there's actually something that we learned about in pharmacy school called the Myers cocktail, which is a B vitamin and magnesium intravenous solution that is used to treat cancer. All the B vitamins are effective for helping boost the immune system. Magnesium can also be helpful. Electrolytes, potassium, calcium, in addition to magnesium, sodium, and chloride, those can also be helpful too. These are all available in an intravenous format. So if you're dealing with cancer, please understand that you can remit. Your major strategy is going to be to feel better, to make the body stronger, not to focus so much on killing the cancer, but to focus on feeling stronger and feeling better. That way, no matter what happens with the cancer, you're going to feel better. And at the end of the day, that's what our major goal is. It's not necessarily to get rid of the diagnosis, but it's to feel good, to feel strong. And all of these strategies will allow you to do that. Thank you.